Welcome to Surviving as a Civilian, the AAR. This week's episode, we're going to be reviewing Charli's interview. With me, I have Andrew Collis. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm all right. Let's dive into it. So last week's episode was Charli. She was our only female we had this season, and how we ended up getting her was an episode down the road from Franklin. He suggested it. He hooked it up, took care of it, and I never thought to reach out to that. But it's a really good story, in my opinion.
Yeah, we had hopes to get at least one female for this season, hopefully. So, and then I think her story was great for it. So I think it worked out really well.
I really liked her interview because the perspective. So most of the interviews that we do are mostly combat engineers. Hers was a military intelligence aspect, and not only military intelligence, but a female's aspect, which really kind of demonstrates some of the challenges that you and I really don't see. I mean, she was out alone operating as a specialist. She was a female in a country that is not exactly friendly to females, trying to get her job done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I like how it shows like another side of combat that's not like really like violent related, but it just shows that different people had different experiences during combat deployments.
Yeah, both of hers, like, and then again, guys like you and I, like the 12 Bravo type dudes, like we really don't see kind of the work that goes, not necessarily behind the scenes, but is not blowing up stuff and shooting at people. And the work that those MI people do, the ones that are really good, really contribute to some of the stuff that we ended up doing that we just don't realize.
Yeah, they help. They give all the details that help the commanders and stuff come up with missions and stuff. So it's pretty awesome stuff.
I really enjoyed this interview, Andrew. Not only because it was her, but she really gave a perspective on without really letting out the cat out of the bag of how kind of scary or difficult it is to get dropped off on a fob somewhere and say, all right, go do your job, make friends with the combat guys and start working your magic.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too. And she was talking about just getting dropped off alone. I think it was like 425 or something. They're just like, all right, see you later.
Right.
That's pretty crazy, man.
And that's got to be difficult, I mean, sure they teach some sort of techniques in the schoolhouse, her coming up, but nothing really can prepare you for that unless you're smart and you have a decent, work ethic and personality.
Yeah, especially her being 19 at the time. That's pretty young just to be like on your own at war in a different country, so.
No rapport built with the people she's supporting.
Yeah, so she seemed like she did a really good job of gaining a reputation for herself as needed for them to take her along, because they could have just pushed her aside.
Yeah, easily. But, from my experience, too, a lot of that is if you're willing to work and do what those commanders or subordinate commanders want you to do, they'll take advantage of your abilities and your skills.
Yeah. As a combat engineer, my second deployment, we had my squad got dropped off to an infantry cop, and then we had to do the same thing. And just like, at first they didn't know what to do with us. It took them a minute just to figure out what we were and what we did. So I could relate to her story kind of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can, not just military people. I think if you're, never been in the military, I think you can relate on just having to make it happen.
Yeah. So what do you think was unique about it? Just that stuff that we were already talking about, or?
Yeah, most of it. I think that somebody in their infinite wisdom decided to drop off a 19-year-old female specialist with a bunch of artillery guys and tell her to go make work happen. That was pretty unique. That's something doesn't really seem to fit what the concept of the Army is, but hey, whatever. I mean, it worked out for her. She did real good.
Yeah, I thought one thing that was unique about her story too was her third deployment. She chose to go back as a civilian, a contractor. So that's pretty pretty crazy too. And like, she did that right when she got out of the Army. She just chose to deploy again to Afghanistan, you know? So she took very little time off.
Yep. Turned around and went right back at it. Very respectable. And she went right back at it knowing what goes on over there. And so it's even like we talked about with her interview, it's even worse for contractors because they don't get the full total support that the military does.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, from her time already over there, she had a little better than someone who wasn't in the Army that was a contractor who just got thrown in there. So she had a better knowledge of what to expect and how contractors are treated over there, you know, and their living conditions and stuff.
Correct. Yep. I agree. How do you think this is going to help people? What's the takeaway from this?
I think the takeaway is that Charli is a good example of another method of being successful after military service, and that's the contracting. Like if you are in the service and you have a job like hers or a mechanic or like an actual skill, you know, like we didn't have it as combat engineers, but they can land these awesome contracting jobs that they don't need any more schooling. They can just go straight from the military and take their skills that the military taught them, and they can live a really successful life and have a good career just from that.
Yep, correct. Yeah, that's a little risky too, though. I mean, contracts dry up and there's no stability in there. But I mean, with that, the military intelligence field, they'll always have jobs for those people. There's always something that has to be looked at.
Well, yeah, and she even took it from that third deployment and then took it into another contracting jobs in the United States. You know what I mean? So she kept transitioning and putting herself in better positions over time. You know.
Andrew, what did you learn from this interview with Charli?
It wasn't really what I learned. It was that I agreed a lot with her advice for people getting out of the military, and that was to get a support system before you leave. Like set it up and have a plan. Families, friends, VFWs, a Legion, PSD groups, VAs. There's a lot of places to find support and find similar people that have gone through similar things that you can talk to and share experiences with, instead of just doing it alone and trying to be a lone wolf.
And that's something that is a reoccurring suggestion with all the people we interview. As you guys will hear as you go through the episodes, that is one of the standing things that most people recommend you to do.
Yeah, I agreed with that a lot. So, and then I got another thing, how she had brought up how the VA was pushing depression meds on her.
Right.
Yeah, that I think they do that to everyone. Like they gave me this depression meds, and I'm like a happy-go-lucky dude. I'm like never depressed. I was looking at her. I'm like, you're insane. I'm never depressed, you know? So they just gave me a prescription, and I just never took them. You know what I mean? But like, that's a big thing too, is like, yeah, they definitely try to get you on those depression meds as soon as possible.
Yeah, that was I like that part of the story when she got mad at the person. Coming up, Andrew, next week, March 20th, we have your friend Shane. Shane was given to me by you because he's a longtime friend of yours, but Shane also is our only Air Force non-Army guy.
Yeah, I've known him since we were teenagers, and at first I didn't even think about him for this, and then one day it just clicked, and I called you, and I was like, we got to do an interview with Shane. He has an awesome Air Force story.
And that story is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It's a good one.
I will say right now, it's not one of the worst ones we've done, but listener discretion advised. There's some graphic parts of it. That episode comes out March 20th. Will be Shane's episode. Before I go, on behalf of Andrew and I, we would like to thank all the veterans we talked to for taking the time to share their stories with us. We created this podcast to show not just the military, but everyone that you can make it through some of the toughest times in your life and come out on the other side on top. Here at Surviving as a Civilian, we cannot stress enough the importance of getting help if you need it or giving help if you can. Sometimes it could be as simple as making a phone call or answering that phone in the middle of the night from someone you haven't heard from in a while. If you or someone you know is struggling, help is available at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 or text the word HOME to 741-741. If you think your story can help someone out and you want to share it with us, please email us at survivingasacivilian.casting@gmail.com. Subscribe and rate this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcast. Like and follow Surviving as a Civilian on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, get help if you need it, or give help if you can.